All right. Hello and welcome to our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM live webinar. I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing here in our security business unit at Sumo Logic, and welcome. Now, quick housekeeping, this live webinar is being recorded, and I'll take some time at the end for any questions that you may have. And while I'm speaking, feel free to click in the Q&A button right there in your webinar window and jot down your question. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Now, we've allotted 30 minutes, and I want to ensure that I can get you guys on to the next meeting and get there on time. So with that, let's get started. I realize that there's a whole wide variety of folks here that are attending, and I really appreciate that. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes into zeroing in on the pains and the challenges that folks are currently facing. And this, of course, has been growing for the last couple of years, but even amplified further with the pandemic, the global pandemic with COVID-19. Really, in a nutshell, the security operations has to change. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We've seen this transformation to the cloud, where cloud migration spending has been growing at 6 times the pace of general IT spending. The fact that 3 out of 4 security teams agree that their cloud infrastructures are generating more security alerts than their similar on-prem environments. And legacy security tools, legacy SIEM solutions, security analytics platforms, they weren't built for this cloud transformation. And that's resulted in more threat visibility gaps now than ever before. And there's also been this shift in the threat landscape where we've been migrating more and more apps to the cloud, and that has now changed and shifted the landscape. It's created an explosion of attack surface. And in fact, 67% of security professionals said that the increase in the number of security alerts stems from new and evolving threats, and that makes sense. And in fact, if you've been watching the news in the last week and 2 weeks, there's an awful lot of new attack surface out there and definitely some new and evolving threats. But in this same report, this is a 2020 State of SecOps and Automation report from Dimensional Research, they said that 55%, so more than half of the organizations that were interviewed, blamed the increase in their threats that they're facing now on their cloud infrastructure. And we all know that a simple misconfiguration could lead to a major data breach. And this attack surface explosion isn't just because of our laptops and desktops. Obviously, there's mobile devices, IoT, multi-cloud environments, containerization, and modern apps that are running, especially with continuous delivery, microservices, VPC traffic flows. It goes on and on. So orgs today are facing more zero-day threats and more ransomware attacks that continue to succeed. And APTs are still an ongoing concern, which is what we're seeing right now in the news. But on the right-hand side here, this is when really kind of rubber meets the road, where security operations is no longer a human scale problem. 83% of security teams in this same report said that their staff are experiencing alert fatigue. Maybe some of you folks have been experiencing that as well. 3 out of 4 of the businesses said that they would actually need to hire 3 or more security analysts to be able to actually get to and to conquer all of their daily security alerts. But we're all facing still, unfortunately, this ongoing, body count, this resource shortage and cybersecurity skills shortage. And that means you just simply can't hire enough people to address and manually triage all of these alerts. There's just simply too many alerts and you can't get to them all. Investigation processes are often slow and inefficient. For instance, it could take some folks a day just to create a dashboard to reflect one metric from just one tool. Other organizations tell us that, well, we can't determine mean time to detect using our existing solutions. And that's also because there's often a lack of tool integrations playing nicely with others and having that better together story. So that you're left with multiple consoles, alerts without correlation, false positives and false alerts. So really what this means is that none of the traditional approaches, that's if you keep your legacy SIEM, or if you outsource, or if you're just going to try to hire more bodies, none of this is going to work for your modern SOC. You really need to have a modern cloud SIEM, a security analytics platform, to be able to secure your cloud journey, match your changing attack surface that we're seeing, and be able to start bringing innovation back into your SOC. So with Sumo Logic and what we're going to be showing you today is really a completely different cloud SIEM solution. And I've just got 6 items here that really highlight key differentiators for our solution. We've got automated insights, combining our collection strength, our detection flexibility, and our ability to automatically triage alerts into clustered signals as what we refer to as insights. And we do this better than anybody out there. This is automated elite alert triage. And we're actually automating level 1 analysts and helping you avoid having to hire those 3 or more analysts, as that report was saying. We're basically taking away the first step of SOAR tools with this technology, if you think about it through that lens. We're automatically enriching our insights with crucial data to accelerate investigations. And this includes user information, device information, and network traffic analysis as well. In the top center here, this is speaking to our cloud native scalability. We're built natively right in AWS with all the petabyte scale that comes with that. And understand that you're able to bring in whatever data you want to send to us, whenever you want to send it. You can query however much you want, whenever you want. And this is another example of how, this is what Sumo Logic is known for. On the upper right-hand corner here, I just wanted to call out that, what you're about to see, this is a single platform that's going to bring multiple teams together. So for those of you on the call that are in the SecOps team, of course, welcome. But you might as well bring your DevOps brothers and sisters over too, because this is not just a SIEM in a fishbowl for 5 of you or 6 of you to use. This is a tool, because we don't charge per user or for administrators to use our solution. This is a tool, a platform that everybody across organizations within your enterprise or your entity can be able to utilize. And there's so much that I can't get to here today to unpack, but our integrated threat intelligence, which is our CrowdStrike threat intel feed, taxi intel sharing, using Yara rules from GitHub and pulling all that together. This platform allows you to start to understand and recognize tool consolidation as well as you're bringing all these different groups and all these tools together. Lower left-hand corner here, this is really the best of both worlds. We've taken our powerful search interface that you know us for at Sumo Logic and integrated that with our streamlined, modern, purpose-built security interface. And this is what's helping with SecOps workflows in particular. It's to streamline it. It's been designed from the ground up with a prioritization-based process workflow. And this is enabling security analysts to intuitively verify those alerts and investigate incidents. So this is right head on. This one and the item above it, this automatic actionable insights. This is how Sumo Logic is uniquely addressing this pain point, this problem of alert fatigue and getting time back in your analyst day. So you can work on other important threat hunting and vulnerability management and other important security activities inside your organization. Also, we kill at cloud collection and detection. I mean, you really should be considering and looking at Sumo Logic because you need a SIEM built to ingest and detect threats in all of your cloud data sources. And you also need support for on-prem and hybrid infrastructures. And you want to be cloud provider agnostic. You don't want to be tied in or hemmed into one particular top cloud provider and whatever solutions or data sets or data sources that they support. You really need to be across the board, as I'm sure a lot of your systems are. A little bit of here, a little bit of there, a little bit on-prem. Folks, this is really key. And the last one on the lower right-hand side here, just talking about rapid time to value, ease of use, get up and running quickly. Tons of training, tons of certification for the solution I'm about to show you, getting you up and running with out-of-the-box content that makes it easy to get your new users, your admins, with our online and on-site certification courses, product documentation, and our intuitive UI to help get built up and running quickly too. So let us, before I continue, I just want to mention that although today's focus is on our Cloud SIEM solution, which I'm showing on the right-hand side here, Sumo Logic also has solutioning for audit and compliance, as well as security analytics, if that's really all you might need. Maybe you don't need this full-blown, purpose-built, security analyst workflow and automation and analytics tool set. Maybe all you need is dashboards. Maybe all you need to enjoy are full text queries of your information, and you need to demonstrate and make it easier to demonstrate compliance for your different regulatories that maybe you have to face. The same solution is able to be used across all these 3 different use cases. But today I just wanted to focus on the one on the right here. So with that, let me flip over to show you our Cloud SIEM security interface. So by doing so, I'm going to change over my browser tab and pop in. This is our security interface. We call this our heads-up display. And so as a security analyst, you would be utilizing this display. This is your starting point. And on the upper left-hand corner here, you can see that today's date, December 16th, I'm looking at a 4-hour period of time. I could change that to 8 hours. But what's changing, of course, this whole page is dynamically changing behind the scenes. I don't have to hit the space bar and hit the refresh buttons. We're pushing this content and updating it dynamically. What we're doing on the left-hand side is we're taking in all the, I'll point to it here with my cursor. We're bringing in all of your structured and unstructured data. We're automatically parsing that data and normalizing the data into records. In this case, it looks like we have 722,000 in the last 8-hour period. And that's actually slightly down, just under 1% from the 8 hours previous to that. Then what we do is we're taking, with our rules content engine, to fire signals. And so we're looking at matches against those records. And it looks like in the last 8-hour period, we've surfaced 25,000 signals. Other products, other competing solutions might refer to that as a notable event. And that's where a lot of these other solutions on the market are going to stop, leaving you with 25,000 alerts to go dig into. We call our signals because they're actually, we've done enrichments with user data, network data, and also device information, entity information that's tied to that. So that's what we call a signal. Well, this is where it's unique for Sumo Logic, without any other add-ons and without trying to do extra rule stacking and other techniques and tactics to try to whittle that number down. We actually serve up what we call insights. And these are it's our opinionated view of critical incidents that you probably should be investigating immediately. And so this is to draw the eyes of your security team onto these items. And as I change the different focus of time here from 8 hours, 12 hours, as you can see, the map continually changes in the center here. This is probably where your eyes are gravitationally drawn to, is to look at exactly what's in the center mass. And we call that our insight radar. So now that I'm looking at a one-day view, in the last 1 day, we've had 2 million records come in, 76,000 signals have fired, and our insight engine, which is driven by our insight algorithm, which is looking at back up to 30 days in time, not just 24 hours back and not 48 hours back, but up to 4 weeks back in time, looking across those 76,000 signals. And we've stitched together 6 insights that you really need to look at based on those signals, based on those records, which of course is based on the detections and the events and the logs that you're sending to us and all that telemetry. So those insights show up in our insight radar as little triangles. Red triangles indicate new insights that haven't been looked at or it haven't been owned yet. It hasn't been assigned yet to one of my SOC analysts. When a triangle, an insight, is this yellowish orange color, that indicates that it's actually in progress. Somebody is actually working on that. We also have the ability to have insights turn color to green when they've actually been closed and been fully worked. And we also have some insights that show up as a little white triangle. And the white triangle is an other category. And other indicates that it's in a process of a stage in your workflow that you've given a custom name to that stage, or it could be multiple different stages, but it's definitely not new or closed or in progress. It's in that other category. And that's great because that allows your team to truly customize what you're seeing to match your existing workflows, the processes that you folks have already put in place. New insights, maybe you've got you want to have a process called the tier 1 look, so the tier 2, tier 3, instant response. We also have our spec ops hunting service, which is our elite team of threat hunters that are actually working as a force multiplier for our customers. It's an optional add-on service. So they might even create a custom category called spec ops for their special operations activities. And so that's what those white triangles would be when they show up. So as I'm looking at the product, yes, on the left-hand side, I can see my sensors and the status. This is a demo environment, so I don't have it lit up with a whole bunch of sensors, but they would just appear here with the ability to click on each sensor and get quick information that's easy to grok, understand the version, whether maybe the sensor or the collector has to be updated or patched. You'll also be able to see the data that's flowing and the record information of that sensor. Great information at a glance view. A lot of customers choose to take this heads up display page and put it up on their wall in their SOC, because with one glance, I'm seeing the workflow of our funnel of fidelity as we're going from records to insights. You're seeing it visually here too, because as the data is ingesting from clockwise, from dead 12 o'clock position in a 1-day view, I can see this blue line is showing my records as it ebbs and flows all the way around the horn here. Similarly, I'm able to see all the signals as they're coming through, and I can hover on it. It looks like we're seeing 20-minute periods of time here because of my interval that I've chosen for 1 day. And apparently between 2 p.m. and 2:20 p.m. Yesterday, I had 534 signals coming through at that particular time. And then in the center, as I started out with, those are our insights. So a lot of folks love the fact that you can just have this bird's eye view right off the bat. And also the most recent insight activity that's happening is displayed in the upper right-hand corner. Down in the lower right-hand corner, this is commentary, a running commentary of what your team is working on or what they're saying or changes to status and different things. And everything you can drill down further onto. And also, by the way, I probably should mention, everything that you're seeing that makes up the solution behind the scenes, everything has an API mapped to it. So it can all be worked with your existing tool sets and called with whatever tools you're working with, especially if you're going to be using your own source solutions or your own scripts that you've already invested heavily in. You can plug that right into our solution here as well. So let's pretend it's a day in the life. We want to, we're an analyst working for an enterprise that's using this tool set. We're going to start our day out. We're going to look into our insights list here. And as I mentioned before, new shows up as red. And as you can see, it has that little red moniker below each one of these tiles. Each one of these little baseball cards is representing a new insight. In progress, those orange triangles are showing up here. They have their moniker of orange. I mentioned there's some options for optional ones that show up as white. I have none in Spec Ops right now. Tier 3, apparently I have 2. And closed, I'm suppressing right now, but I can turn off that filter and I can see all the closed insights. Now that's in the past. We've already done that. Gosh, we've done 1,756 of them, it looks like. So no need to live in the past. Let's focus on the now, which is new insights that have come across our gate. Each insight has a unique number identifying to help you keep track. I can see the entity. Every single insight has an entity attached to it. It's either a username, host name, IP address. And we use that to make sure that everything is threaded together and linked in that manner. We can see the dwell time, 14 days of duration. We can see the number of signals that we surfaced that are attached to this one single insight. We have a severity level of urgency, and also the name of whoever might be assigned to look at it. In this case, it looks like I've actually got Alex is working on this particular insight here, and that's why it's in progress. So we can scroll down, we can pick any of these. Let's grab Insight 1772. So this looks like it's initial access with execution and credential access. Okay, good. That's giving us a quick heads up as to the TTP involved in this particular insight. So on the right-hand side here, I'm seeing a visual layout and a timeline view of the different signals that fired and how they fired, because we're seeing rules are shown as blue diamonds. So that shape and color, and I know that sometimes folks can be colorblind, so that's why we did shapes in addition to color. This allows you to then quickly see, okay, I've got these rules were firing these particular signals, but I also have anomaly-based rules that would show up as this little teal circle with a squared off edge. And it looks like we have a couple over here on the right side. Threat intelligence-based rules that have fed into it and surfaced a signal due to some sort of piece of threat intelligence that you brought in from your own third-party feeds or through our own data that we also provide, shows up as a little purple pentagon. And then also on the right-hand side here, the yellow square is indicating any other third-party feed that you have. So as you move from left to right, this is a timeline view of when those signals hit. Going up and down on the chart, this is showing the severity level of each of those signals. So it's interesting. Sometimes you'll see an insight and it's just all over the board. Some are very loud, very, very, very noisy, and they're all up in the severities of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But then you see the stealthy, the crafty attacks, and they're down in the ones, the twos, the threes. It looks like we've got a couple here. This one, as I hover over it, severity level of 1, Office 365. There was a threat intel, a URL match. But everything seems to have clustered right over here at a point in time. And it must be here with this collection that we reached a threshold of enough signals and enough weighting that we realized, okay, this is definitely an insight. And so we surfaced this insight. We gave it the name, 1772, and the tactic, technique, and the procedure involved is that it's initial access. So for all purposes, as I'm looking at this, this really appears to be an Office 365 account compromise based attack. I can see now going down through my signals in order here from date, and I can change the order, the event time. I could sort all of these by the name, the severity, the stage. There might be some additional information that I might want to add. I could even add a signal to this particular insight if I've got another piece of information that I've pulled in through my tradecraft or through other team members or anything that we're hearing on the wire or in the news that could help us in this determination. So as you're looking at these different signals that make up the insight, you have the ability to scroll through and see, okay, we've got potentially malicious URL click was detected, not great. We map all of our signals to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So here, this is part of the credential access stage of MITRE. We had a threat intel URL match. Okay, that's the threat intelligence stage. User was successfully logged in from 2 different countries in 1 hour. Okay, that mapped out to the actual MITRE execution stage. We got a couple of records for that. Then it looks like Office 365, a user attempted login again. Okay, we got some more additional information. Those definitely are anomalous. And it looks like the final verdict or the straw that broke the camel's back here was impossible travel activity. And that falls under credential access. Clearly somebody was in different, let's drill into that, different areas that were just absolutely impossible to reach. When you're looking at a signal, I get to see a description of it. It's a security compliance alert. I get to see my metadata that makes up that particular signal, the event time, when it was created, the rule that fired that signal. So I can actually, without going too deep, but I'll go a little bit deeper for you. I've just drilled down into the rule that was apparently a match-based rule created by this gentleman, Stephen. And I can see a mapping of all the different time over the last several months and days. So you can see the weeks and the months laid out here. And there it fired 4 times. We got 4 signals generated on December 1st Pacific time. And this is a dynamic severity that's being attached in this rule. And so here's an example of our rule editor. Very straightforward, very simple. When I said earlier how intuitive we've built this product and how we want to make it easier for folks, again, not a lot of folks in the security industry as we would like. And the folks that are there, they're not necessarily going to have the depth and knowledge that some of you on this call right now likely have. So we're trying our best to make this approachable and intuitive. And so if this rule is triggered, why? Well, when a record matches this particular expression, what are you going to do? You're going to go create this signal, give it a name, give it a description, put it into this stage, which is tapped the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And I got these little information here, bullets that show up to help you as you go along through the product to understand what each area is expecting in each field, and then give it a dynamic severity, or maybe I give it a constant severity. I can actually choose the slider as to how much severity I want it to have. And then I'm seeing a history of how many times this rule has fired and created a signal. And then I can see that it's fired 383 signals here. Okay, so I wanted to drill down and show you kind of what our rule structure looks like there as well, and to map that out. So as I'm looking at a signal, and again, a signal is one of many likely that make up an insight. What is a signal made out of? A signal is made out of records. So I'm actually also seeing attached right here the record that spun up this signal. Why did Sumo Logic think this was so important? Well, here it is. This record came through, attached to this username, Napoleon.dynamite. Whether there was a source IP or a destination IP attached to it, this one apparently does not. Again, this is a demo environment. I don't want you folks to think that maybe things don't add up, but this was not a production environment. This is the ability to now look at the full details. Some people prefer to look at it in this source format. Other people like to look at the actual raw log. To each their own. And so we're giving you this choice. We're giving you this power to view the data the way that you're accustomed to. And if you want to go further, yeah, go ahead and export this as a CSV or as a JSON file, download it right now. and do your investigative process, working backwards from the insight that we told you to focus on to the signals that make it up, including this signal here for impossible travel, and then go deeper into that log. Anywhere throughout the product, when you're finding a piece of information that's interesting, we have these little dots that show up, these little context actions, and when you click on it, immediately you're granted this pull down, or I guess it's a pop up in a way, where I can, with one click, search across all of my insights, all the signals, all the entities for this particular IP address, or in this case, it's actually a username. I could also search my records for this username, find out where else this user is popping up or what they're attached to. Same thing if it was an IP address. I also have the ability to punt out to all these other different URLs that I can just set up ahead of time. And instead of having to like manually go in and have tab, tab, tab across my browser, I live here in our search interface, and I work in Insight, and I work down through the signal. And then when I want to see, well, what does VirusTotal have to say about that? What does Shodan have to say about that? Maybe recorded future. All it takes is just one click, and now I'm launching off into all these different areas of my workflow, my tradecraft that I use on a daily basis. So I wanted to show that as well, but right without even leaving our search interface, I can search for this user and find out what else we know about them across all the different records for a period of time. So I've now pivoted on it, and I'm looking, and it looks like I found 17 records for this person, Napoleon Dynamite, on this date, yesterday, 12/15. And looks like I've seen 14 authentication records come through, 2 email records, and an audit record. So again, I just wanted to give you a scratching of the surface of how deep you could really take this. And I haven't even had to crack open our Sumo Logic search interface yet. So just to show you the power of what you're doing as a security persona, as a security focused individual in your workflow, you get to live right here and just keep working these different insights as you go along. No need to even pop over to the Sumo search interface, but it's there if you need it. Because if you want to go into the Sumo search interface, you just click our button here, switch right over, bring that up as another tab in your browser. Now you can go and pivot on IP address, looking up host names, looking up different messages, and then applying our machine learning technology to that to whittle down from thousands and tens of thousands of records down to a manageable handful of records, looking for those needles in the needle stack effectively, because everything can be so confusing and it's so much noise out there. I realize I'm getting a little bit deeper here than I probably needed to be, but I hope you folks appreciate this. And so when we're looking at an insight and we're working through it, and I realize, okay, this was definitely validated. It definitely is a valid insight, and I appreciate it. And yes, all these signals did make up the proper story that this is probably an Office 365 compromise. Let's take some action. So on the left-hand side of the insight, this entire time, have been my action buttons. Now, some actions you can actually set up ahead of time. So when the insight is generated, an action is taken. That's great to be able to automate that. That's perfect. But you also have the ability to click here and have on-demand actions as well. Maybe I want to send it off to AWS, do some great stuff with Slack and some interesting automation that you can do in Slack. Send it off to ServiceNow, ITSM solutions, send it over to Phantom or your whatever store you might have already invested heavily in, or just simply waking folks up, sending out emails, using PagerDuty. That's the ability that you can take and integrate. And again, as I mentioned earlier, everything's got an API behind it, which is excellent. I want to close the insight because I know about it. It's great. There's different reasons to close the insight. You could resolve it and say, well, it was resolved, meaning I took care of it. I can give a comment. Maybe it was a false positive. Okay, that happens sometimes. Maybe no action was needed whatsoever. Say so right here and record it as such. Or maybe it was a duplicate and it's being redundant for whatever reason. You keep getting the same insight firing. And that can happen in some cases when a machine might still be infected or is continuing, your CrowdStrike data might be saying, well, it's online again and it still has this infection. So these signals might still be contributing to an insight that is duplicative in nature. That's fine. Mark it as such, move on with your day. The purpose isn't even to spend as much time as I've shown you in demonstrating the product. The purpose is to actually just get through this in, 30 seconds to a couple of minutes to go through these insights. The signals, if you wish, and you really want to tear into it and go deep, we've got them here for you in spades. We have it as, I'm looking at, in a period of time, 652 signals here. And I can, of course, take away false positives. I can take away suppression lists and filters and look at all the different signals here for the period of time that I was pivoting on. And yeah, here we go. So for that last period of time, for the 1 day look back, here's 7 million different signals. Again, this is a demo environment. So there are going to be some repetitive stuff here that we've orchestrated to make sure that we can have it ready for when I want to be able to give a demonstration. But these are here if you want it. You can go and filter on them. You can dig down into the stage of the MITRE ATT&CK stage, the entity, a rule ID, canaries that you might have, that physically, what is the name of that signal? And you can be hunting for that. Like, oh, show me anything having to do with AWS. Show me anything having to do with GCP. Anything having to do with WannaCry. Whatever that signal is that you've got, you could then filter on that. But it's so much easier when you let us do this work that you've looked at us for to do. This is what's keeping us unique in the market. So definitely use it to your advantage to draw your eyes to these insights, address those first, and make sure that you're hitting what matters most. And this is a quick yet a little bit detailed walkthrough of our product. So I hope that helps you folks. Let me switch back over here because there's something I wanted to point out as well. And that's here, I've been talking about, I'm just showing you buttons and switches and signals and insights, but it's not just about that gadgetry. It's also about people. I mean, people's really, that support that you need when you need it most is so important. And that's why we have professional services to help you get onboarded quickly, premium support that's there along the way, along your journey throughout your subscription with Sumo Logic, but also at the tip of the pyramid, and I touched on this earlier, this is our special operations service. We call them Spec Ops for short. This is our mission-focused, team-oriented threat hunting, effectively threat hunting as a service by this team of cybersecurity experts that we've taken from different industries across the globe here. And these are the folks that are helping you as basically a force multiplier behind your existing team. So some companies have very small teams. This is great because there's no way you're going to hire enough folks and get them ramped up quickly to match what they're going to bring to the table for you. But also, we've got customers with 50 analysts working round the clock, 24/7 shifts in their SOC. And in those situations, they still want a team like our Spec Ops service because there's just never enough bodies to go around. There's never enough helpers and hands on deck, especially when it comes to folks that can be experienced in helping with this threat hunting as well. So with that, let me take some of the questions and see what we've got here. Again, if you want, you can just go ahead and type them into your Q&A window and we'll get to them right now. Okay, good question. Is insights included with every subscription plan or specific ones? Okay, great question. The concept of us surfacing insights is part of our Cloud SIEM enterprise product. And that product is an add-on to our core Sumo Logic platform. So it's a combo deal there. So when I'm talking earlier about our Cloud SIEM offering, I'm talking about it's the whole kitchen sink, and that's what's allowing you to have the ability and the algorithm and the engine in the back end that's actually surfacing those insights from the data that you're feeding to Sumo Logic. And so that is included in the different plans. When there's when the rubber meets the road, and of course, I would encourage you to talk to your Sumo Logic sales rep, account manager, or of course your authorized Sumo Logic reseller. They'll talk about different pricing packages that we have, and different, I think it's enterprise security suite, and those different suites are what's bundling. Then there's also the concept of how do you want to flow the data through Sumo Logic? Because this isn't a question that was asked, so I'll answer it this way. We want to make sure that folks have the flexibility and the power and the control over your data. And of course, that also comes to the costs that you might incur as you're ingesting your data. So we have different data tiers to put that power in your corner. If you want to have real-time dashboarding and of course the data going through Cloud SIEM Enterprise with our algorithm, then that data, that security relevant data, you're going to want to throw through our continuous data tier. But we also have a frequent data tier at a lower cost to you, and also an infrequent data tier at a much lower cost. And so this is that power, this is that control that we want to make sure that you have that flexibility. And we also have the concept of credits that are available too, where you're actually investing in a certain number of credits, and then you're diverting the credits to what areas that you want to address them to, and to charge them against. And then you have the power of actually seeing right within your Sumo Logic platform what your burn down rate is of those credits. So again, please talk to your sales rep to learn more information about that. At this point, I just want to make sure that you folks understand like how the product works and why it does the things that it does. Okay, another question here. How do you get to the insights? Good question. The insights are actually within this Cloud SIEM Enterprise security interface. That's where the insights are surfaced and visualized to you. But all of your data is still, it's in the Sumo platform. It's just there. What you're chewing is that you're running that data through this additional capability, which we call Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And that's what I showed you today. Let's see. So another question. So enterprise security would qualify for insights. Yes, I believe so. Please check with your sales rep or authorized Sumo Logic reseller to understand what that is, because I believe we have a bundle where you're just to make it very simple for folks, both on both sides of the aisle, for us to sell and for folks to buy. I believe it is a Cloud SIEM bundle where then the proper package is chosen and the data tiers is chosen, and it's just a matter of them setting up and doing a proof of value, an eval, to get you up and running quickly, which we're able to do because of all the out-of-the-box content that we have under the hood. I didn't get into that detail too much in the demonstration here, but we have more than 400 rules out of the box ready to go across, I think it's 167 different products across 96 different vendors. And of course, we can log and process anything that you give us via syslog too. So I don't want to leave that out. And the last piece here, do you have anything that relates to UEBA? Good question. UEBA, an increasingly discussed technique and a technology where you're looking to baseline user behavior and analyze against that. We have some of the components, some of that capability is in because we're tracking everything against what we refer to as an entity. And so when you send us information that's coming in through your Active Directory, we have an actual collector for Active Directory. We're able to grok that information that's coming through logins, through Microsoft and other activities and events are logging in through that. But also we're able to see then user information coming in through your single sign-ons, through Okta and all that. You can start to formulate this picture. When we fire signals based on that and we map those against an insight, you then do get to see that insight timeline view, which then is actually tied to an entity through that process. There is not that baselining capability though of, oh, okay, a normal user would never log in at 7 a.m. and now it's like 2:30 in the morning, so that's out of character. You could go and I'm sure you could go build a rule or a policy for that in a one-off or as a corner case, but that's not like native in the product to be looking in that way or that manner. I think that's it. I just saw the last question disappeared here, so I think we're good there for today, folks. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing here for our security business unit here at Sumo Logic. I hope you have a great day. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me or to your Sumo Logic sales account manager or to your authorized Sumo Logic reseller. Have a great day, folks.